What's up, y'all? This is the Well Matched Perspectives. I'm going to be talking to my boy, Goat Vic. Should be a good conversation. What's up, Ebony? Thanks for joining. What's up, y'all? So I'm going to give Vic a little sec to join. Appreciate y'all joining so early. How's everybody doing? You had a good day? Should be a really good conversation with my boy, Vic. Looking forward to it. Drop a city you're from or what city you're in, if you don't mind. Just so I get a little sense of where everybody's at. We got my boy Fred. What's up, Amy? What's up, Jamie? Good to see y'all. Houston, okay, cool. That's where we're at. Dallas, okay, Dallas. All right, so we got Houston and Dallas. Texas in the building already. I think Vic is originally from Atlanta. I gotta ask him about that. Okay, Charleston. That's what's up. I've actually never been there. Heard great things though. Great golf out there, I hear. Y'all also got a dope food festival that I got on my list. Atlanta, what up, Ed? Okay. So we got people from all over. That's what's up. I see you, Amy, representing. Maya, what's happening? I just saw Vic join. Go ahead and request that join, Vic. Or maybe I invite him. Houston, okay. Philly? Man, I lived in Philly for 2 years. Philly's a dope city, man. It's slept on. There he is.
What's good, my boy?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, man. I can't complain. Thank you again for doing this, dog.
For sure, brother.
Yeah, how much time we got? You wanna? I know your time is really valuable.
This is something that's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot of time to get through. So, shit, I'm here. I'm here for the evening, brother. Let's get it.
I love that. All right, so let's jump into it. So, welcome to the Well Matched Perspectives. For those of you who don't know me, I'm AJ Smith, former Google guy, strategist. I worked in management consulting for 12 years. Now I'm a full-time matchmaker and founder of the Well Match, which is the only data-driven, culture-rooted relationship service that helps Black people find lasting relationships and is based on compatibility first. I've surveyed over 375 people of color. A lot of them are in Houston, but they're all over. And I've been getting into answer questions around 9 key compatibility areas. Everything from emotional intelligence to financial mindset to relationship goals, relationship roles. It's across the gamut. So I've been able to kind of see a lot of interesting data. And I wanted to create this series in order to talk about that, in order to kind of validate some things, to get some different perspectives on what I'm seeing in order to clear that up or expand my knowledge, right? And um, so with that, before I talk about specifically why I brought Vic in, I wanted to introduce him. So so Vic, he's not a guest, he's my brother. He's Atlanta born, but he was raised in the H. First generation Nigerian, second eldest of 4 boys, right? You got
Yep.
3 girls. Yep. This man made his first million before he turned 30. He's a businessman, he's a founder, an investor, a speaker, a strategist. I mean, he's a natural born leader. And again, did I mention that he's only 28?
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. That's crazy. He's
Yeah.
built businesses, brands, belief systems, all while staying 10 toes down. And as a matchmaker, it honestly pains me to say this, but he's not on the market. So this isn't like a normal one-on-one that I do where I connect people and let people kind of share their humanity, ask them questions for other people to see so that you can be matched with them. And I can set y'all up on the first date. This is again a conversation that I wanted to have with my brother in order to kind of help me understand his perspective on some of the data that I'm seeing from the questionnaire that I put out.
Right, right, right.
And the main thing is across that 375 people I surveyed, 300 are women, right? So it's
Okay.
only 75 men. So it's like a 4.4 to 1 ratio of women to men. So I invited him because my theory is that not only can he help me, you know, understand what that might be about, but also maybe, you know, we can talk about how I can do a better job of reaching, you know, the hearts and minds of, you know, young Black Gen Z millennial Black men. So with that, just wanted to welcome you to Match Perspectives, my brother.
I appreciate you. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for having me. And I'm really looking forward to, figuring out pretty much why there's such a discrepancy in the data market and the people who are willing to actually take part in it.
Bet. All right. So just to kind of set the context, tonight isn't about like hot takes. Like we're not trying to do gotchas. You know, we're not trying to shame anyone. I really want to have a real conversation around this. And like, I think there's not a ton of spaces where you can actually talk about, you know, advice, perspectives, and you know your own viewpoint without it being, I don't know, like toxic. So
Right.
like if something comes out that's like, man, I don't know how I feel about that, I just ask that we give people grace, because no one's trying to hurt anyone. I think I just want to better understand where people are coming from so that I can, you know, market better and just, you know, learn my customer, my user base. So, like I said, I think this guy's going to help me. So the first data drop I want to give you. So, across those 375 people, 92% said that they're dating for marriage or long-term partnership. So, the majority of my you know, respondents and people who've taken it, they're looking for something serious, not something casual.
Hmm.
But when I asked people for their main dating turnoffs, the number one turnoff was inconsistency and ghosting. And
Okay.
I get that, right? Because like right now, and I know you believe in isolation anyway, so it's
Yeah.
interesting. But like because we live in, you know, the world right now, right, is so social media focused,
Right.
it's easier than ever to ghost someone because it's like,
Mhm.
how could you ghost someone in the 1950s? You know what I'm saying? Or like
Yeah,
even in 20, even in, you know, 2000, it's hard to truly ghost somebody. But
for
now
sure.
it's like, yeah, you're blocked, or I'm not going to respond even though you saw that I read a text. So like, first off, maybe why do you think that is? Or like, what's your take on that?
Why do I feel like the number one turnoff is inconsistency and people ghosting other people?
Yeah.
Before I answer the question, was there a gender that said this happens to them more often, or a gender that seems to be committing the violation? Or is it just like,
Across the board, it was like on both sides. This seems to be the top. I mean, again, my data is going to skew more from the perspective of women, unless I
right, because
like
you had
break that
more?
out. But yeah, so I guess we can say it happens across the board, but on average, it happens more with women.
Okay. I think one thing I would say, and everything that I'm saying is from my perspective and maybe the experiences of people in my proximity. Um, I think a lot of people, not just women, but in this case, majority women,
Hmm.
I think a lot of people have a lot of options,
Hmm.
and it's very distracting to focus on just one person and one thing for a certain period of time. I think you could be talking to somebody, vibing with somebody for, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks, and then you see something that is visibly or visually more attractive, or you see yourself with someone else that you just saw on the Explore page. There wasn't no Explore page in the 1980s, so it's almost like you get what you get, and then you have to work with them. Now you have options on top of options. You go out for the weekend, you're not talking to this person, you're not seeing this person, and then you get 3 or 4 other contacts. And now you don't feel the need to nurture this old relationship or this new relationship that you just now found, and you don't see it to be worth it to continue to nurse or nurture. And I think that's why a lot of people ghost and are inconsistent because it's so easy to do so.
So like how do you filter for that, right? Like if you were on the market and you're looking for someone who doesn't ghost, or let's start here because then I want to ask like if you've ever ghosted somebody and understanding why you might have done that, but like
Um, I don't think I have an issue communicating that, oh, I
Mhm.
might not be interested. But yeah, I don't have that issue. I can't sit here and say that I've ghosted someone in the past. I'll literally tell you to your face, like, I don't think that this is something that I'm interested in, and it'll just be that. They might be upset about it, and
Yeah,
that's not equivalent to me ghosting them. I mean, I told you what it was, so I don't
exactly.
think that's equivalent.
I think a lot of people in the chat too are just saying like communication is not easy for a lot of people. And I think that is just selfishness, to be honest. A lot of people are worried about themselves. So yeah, like if you have a perspective in the chat, I want to hear like why do people ghost? I mean, that seems like the main issue and the top deal breaker and turn offs for people in the dating world and what they want to get away from. So, I mean, the well match, it's gonna be hard for y'all to ghost because it's like I'm matching you, right? Like you
Right.
told me what you're looking for, and I'm gonna put you with that person. And before I put you with someone else, like I need you to explore that connection. So if that's something you're worried about, the good news is you don't have to worry about that here.
Right. To kind of add on to that, I think another reason why people get ghosted, and in this case, majority women, because that's where the data is coming from. I
Hmm.
would say a lot of men are very short term in what they want, very transactional in what they want in a relationship or a dating stint or a situation or whatever they're doing. And I feel like if they do get that thing early, then it gives them more of a reason to kind of opt out. Or if they see the energy that they're not going to get what they're looking for early enough,
Mm.
then they opt out. So I think that that definitely plays a role. Just the ability to transact those things or just focus on the bigger picture. I think the lack of those two things, it just makes it a little bit harder for people to stay locked in.
That's a good perspective. And Q, appreciate your insight too. Too many options, cowardliness, and poor communication. But Vic, I love where you took it. It's almost like people have made an assessment, right? So it's like, yo, like, yeah, we went out on a first date or we didn't, but he said something. And it's almost like that pop the balloon culture, right?
Right, right,
Like
right, right.
balloon pop, you know what I'm saying, move on to the next versus, maybe the change management side of it, right? Like telling someone, like, why? Yeah, I'm gonna roll you off this project. No, that's good. That's good. So I'm out here taking notes, man. Okay. So then another data drop, right? So a lot of folks admitted a heartbreak or ignoring red flags was their biggest mistake. So to me, it just showed that like people really learned a lot of things the hard way. So my question to you was there a moment or a relationship that shifted how you show up
Shifted how I show up
in
in what way?
relationships? In relationship, well, let's say in relationships and just in life. Like I interviewed a gentleman on the Well Match Live, and
Mhm.
he went through um, a little toxic relationship, and then it's kind of shifted and kind of turned him into a different guy that he was before that relationship. Did you
Mm,
have an experience like that, or were there things that you learned from your previous relationships that shaped like your character and how you show up, or you
okay.
felt like those are separate?
Okay, yeah, the kids call that a villain arc now.
A villain.
And it doesn't always have to be like a villain or like a negative connotation behind that change or shift. It just depends on how you take the shift and how you learn from it. I will say I've been in relationships in the past where there were a lot of things I didn't understand. Maybe it was like my level of maturity and my level of experience in relationships. Like I said, I'm only 28 years old. So think of like a relationship from 5 or 6 years ago. I'm 21, 22, 23 years old. And
Yeah,
as a young man, there are a lot of things that you are not going to understand about women early on until you experience those things and you work through those things. And I feel like there was a lot of things that I was holding against my partner, which were things that I didn't necessarily understand. And I think watching how that affected her in the relationship made me do that self work to become a little bit more emotionally mature and understanding going forward. So in this day and age, and I think it's definitely a lot different how I see different perspectives and how different things affect me as a whole in a relationship.
Copy. Like when you talk about self-work, talk a little bit more about that. Like, is it therapy? Is it journaling? Is it self-reflection? I know you really focus on isolation, so like maybe share more about that.
Self work to me, it's funny because me and my good friend Tosin, we talk about this very often. We say that a lot of people stop growing at random moments in their life when they believe that they have accomplished what they think is their true worth. So a good example of that is men are looked at as protector, provider, what have you. So when a man realizes, oh, now I'm qualified because I got a certain level of job or I got a certain salary, now I don't need to go to the gym because they're gonna like me for my money. And it's like, okay, now you're losing your physique and you're losing your ability
Mhm.
to run 2 or 3 miles because you traded it off for what you think they would like you for. And I think a lot of people don't focus on self betterment when they wake up in the morning. That could be reading books, that could be taking a walk, that could be going to therapy, like you mentioned. And I think most people don't want to fill their plate up with things that are maybe strenuous or inconvenient for their own betterment. And I think that's why the dating market is the way it is because nobody's a better version of themselves from yesterday.
Mm, very wise, my bro. So look, my friend Nori said, I think men get intimidated or scared of women who verbalize they want to date intentionally. It tends to feel like too much pressure for many. What's your take on that?
Oh, that's a very easy take. I think that goes back to the conversation where you spoke on how men and women now have so many options, and I feel like men get that FOMO or fear of missing out if they were to commit to something without trying every single person on social media or shooting their shot at every girl that they bump into at the club. So men feel like they have to take themselves out of the game, what they think is maybe prematurely
Mm.
when the game doesn't necessarily have a reward at the end.
I like that. Is there anything you think women can do in order to prevent a man from, exploring those other options? Like, I know it's a tough and broad question, but like from your experience, I mean, attractive guy in Houston, we know what the market in Houston is like. Say
Right.
you were on the market, like how would someone get your attention? What were the things or what are the things that you would really look at in order to say like, oh yeah, like actually I'll put the jersey in the Raptors for this one.
Um, I think there's a number of things. I think my bottom line is just some sort of like core intelligence because I feel like a lot of people don't make good decisions. I feel like a lot of people don't know things. And I think bad decisions can lead to a bad life. And I don't want to have a bad life or attach my life to anyone else's because their lack of, discernment got them in hot water. And now I'm in hot water because everything that you do is, reflecting into our
I love
relationship as
that. I
well.
love that answer, dog. That's
So
such a good, yes, absolutely. Because it's
yeah.
like it's book and street smart, right? Like
Hmm.
it's making bad financial decisions. So your core intelligence is really about like street smarts and book smarts. And it's
Hmm.
like, yo, can you read a room? You know what I'm saying? Like if I bring you here, are you not gonna say something stupid? You know?
Right.
It's like, okay, so how do you, so that's what you kind of like look for
Yeah, at the baseline,
at
that's
the
that's just
baseline.
literally baseline. I think
Yeah.
how you treat other people, not just me, because it's one thing to be nice to me, but are you a kind person in general?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to also be cleaning up any other mess that you made, and I also don't want to be attached to negativity that you're exposing or displaying in other places, because that's gonna fall back on me. And I'm very heavy in how social media portrays different people because one problem for another person is going to be someone else's problem because it's attached to them. I like to talk and compare things in NBA terms. It's
Yeah.
like how Bronny and got in the league because of LeBron. So it's like if there's an article about or a post about Bronny missing a shot, they're gonna put LeBron's picture. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So it's
Right.
like it has nothing to do with LeBron. That's just his kid. He's a whole nother human being. and
Right.
he's also heavily attached to this person. So if I'm with somebody and they're out there doing XYZ, it's gonna fall back on me as well because they know that person's publicly attached to me.
So that could, I mean, if people are feeling like that, and I would agree with you, and I just love the way you put it, that makes it feel like there's a lot of pressure on you to get it right when you're picking someone, when you can't necessarily control their actions. You
Right.
don't know, social media is going to just show you the highlights, right?
Hmm.
So you really don't know their past if you don't really know them. So you
Hmm.
kind of have to ask the right questions, you kind of use discernment and just pray that you're not in a situation where this person is finna set you up for some bullshit.
Right.
So yeah, that's another thing I think I can help with. I think that I have a pretty good eye uh for things, and again, I'm trying to help people find their puzzle piece. So, if that's something that you're worried about, we can make sure that we vet based off of that and filter based off of that.
Yeah, I
I
think vetting is probably like the best thing that you can do in that case.
absolutely. All right, so let's talk about money and maybe even touch on like the 50-50 conversation that's been going on.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
Okay, so 80% of men said that, well, 80% said that men should pay for the first date. I thought that was actually going to be higher. I thought it was going to be like low key 100, 95, but
Hmm.
80% said that men should pay. Um, 63% said financial instability was a big deal breaker. In fact, that was a number one red flag. And then 8 in 10 women want a partner who can at least match or exceed their income. But 65% would date someone who earns less if the mindset was right. So maybe let's start off with like, what's your take on 50-50?
My personal take of what I think people should do.
Ooh, both. Honestly, I'm curious.
um,
Whatever you're comfortable sharing.
I'll do a little bit of both. I mean, my personal take is if you're financially well off and financially stable, then I think it would make sense to kind of alleviate that pressure from the person that you're dealing with from a man's standpoint. I believe in paying 100% of the bills, like paying for everything. That's wherever we're living, that's cars, that's trips, food, dinner, outings, whatever. I already assume the responsibility. If the person I'm dealing with decides, oh, let me pull on my card, he paid the last 100 dinners, let me just do this one. I wouldn't like deny them from doing that, but I'm saying I'm already assuming the responsibility for doing that based on my personal financial situation. Um, I'm a heavy advocate and heavy believer. If you're not comfortable where you are financially, then you have a lot more work to do besides jumping into the dating pool.
Before
So
you go.
that's just my take. I think it leaves room for a lot of gray area and a lot of friction if you're not satisfied with where you are financially, and then you jump into a relationship and you complain about who's supposed to be picking up the bill. That's just me personally and how I was raised and the situation I'm in now. Now, what I think other people should do, because I'm not sure if everyone can relate to the situation that I'm in,
I
but
mean,
what most
everybody's
people,
not a millionaire, my brother.
yeah,
So
I
but go
didn't not
ahead.
like that. I'm just I'm trying to make it
Yeah, please,
cater
please.
to
Go ahead.
the general public. I think in general most people should definitely evaluate, do a self evaluation, and figure out what makes the most sense for them. And if you're dealing with someone who's comfortable with you, maybe doing 50-50 for a certain period of time until you're able to do a little bit more, then to each their own. I think that would probably be a little bit more healthy, especially with how hard the economy is right now.
I love that. That actually gives me some insight into, how I started, right? Like, okay, 375 people have done the questionnaire.
Right.
300 of those people are women, right? 75 are men. You just talked about how, you may say if you're not there financially to be able to cover, what I'm saying,
Hmm.
maybe you chill out. So maybe men are like, removing themselves from dating
That's probably
because
what it is.
they aren't there financially. And given that a lot more, a lot of these women are making solid bank, you know what I'm saying? Like you may feel disqualified. So I know you've been getting to it. You've been getting to the bag for a minute, but like I want to get to that mindset. Like say for instance, you are looking for something intentional, but you
Hmm.
you don't make maybe more than someone you're interested in. But like the mindset's there to eventually make it. And, let's say she's open and, available to date you if you have the right mindset. Like what advice would we say to, a young black man who isn't where he wants to be just yet, but he's doing all the work to get there? Would you still recommend that they like not enter dating, or like are there other things you would give them as advice in that moment?
It's probably gonna sound harsh, but I will 100% recommend that they don't.
Hmm.
The reason why is because if you have this chain reaction where a man is developing himself and a woman is like waiting for him to develop, once he gets to where he needs to be, he has a different perspective above her now in a sense of financial stability. So now he might think he's looking up to her, but once he gets to right here, he's like, I need someone that's going to be right here now.
Hmm.
So now she's going to be like, wow, I sat here and waited for you to get all this shit together. And now that you feel like you're better than me, you're now looking at the people who have been DMing you for the past 2, 3 years, or you're shooting a shot at people that you now believe you're in their league. So I just think it
Hmm.
could get sticky because I believe in people being equally yoked is probably going to be the best way to like cut out a relationship. So I would say do all of your or most of your self work and self betterment and present that better version of you to the market so you can attract those type of people.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that I do, right? Like I ask people how much they make. So let's say he makes 110 and maybe someone he's interested in makes 200. You know, do you think that I should recommend, instead of the one who makes 200, recommend he, maybe go out on a first date with somebody who makes 100? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So,
for
okay.
sure. For sure.
Mhm. So that's a benefit, fellas. It's like, yo, like it's a lot of great people out there. Like I said, it's 300 women and it goes across all ranges. So, I think that we can find somebody who's equally yoked for you. So did money change how like you approach women or women approach you? I just wanted to kind of close a loop on that topic real quick.
Um, I don't necessarily, I know a lot of women are not gonna like this, but I don't necessarily approach women.
Ah,
um,
here we go. Okay, that's my next topic. Because that you're not alone in that. Like it
right.
seems like there's less people approaching women now.
For multiple reasons, I'm sure. But me personally, no, I'm just not in the environments to do such.
Yeah.
I don't go out. I don't like mix and mingle in spaces where I'm not like with my group of friends or my group of people. I don't go out looking for women, if that makes sense. I'm not on the hunt. If I have to go out, it's probably like someone's birthday, and it's just like me and three or four other people, my security, and that's probably it. Um,
Yeah.
as far as women approaching me, I think if it is public information that I am well off, then they will try. But it's 99 times out of 100. It doesn't really do anything.
Copy. Let's say, so is that attractive if someone approaches you? Let's say they don't even know that you're well off. Like, if they just approach you because they find you interesting, or as the kids say, you have aura, right? Like,
Mm.
is that something that is attractive, or would you rather she not? My take is that I think women should give someone a signal, not a command. And so I'm cool with them approaching. I'm cool with them, maybe sharing like there's interest. But I don't
Mhm.
want someone to say, so you're not going to take my number, or you're not going to buy me a
Oh,
drink,
nah, that's definitely, yeah, we're not, we don't move for things like
right?
that. But
Because
I also
yeah.
feel like the reason why some women approach like that is because they already know that it just feels awkward for them. So
Mhm.
they come into the conversation with an ego attached because it's like, I know that this should be the other way around, but even though I'm doing this, I'm gonna
Mm.
try to make you feel smaller than me in that sense. As far as, just subtle remarks or things that are tasteful, I can definitely respect it. Me personally, it's not gonna move me, but there is like a little more respect because a lot of women aren't shooting their shot first.
Hmm. All right, so we agree on that. So yeah, so just looking at the data, so half of the respondents were cool with equal income or even building together if the values align. So again, that's what I'll try to do. I'll make sure that you're equally yoked with somebody. And a lot of times you don't know what the answer to, how much someone makes is when you just meet them. So that's
Mhm.
shameless plug. And then also the data said, um, oh, actually, my question was, what's the biggest myth about dating as a young black successful man?
The biggest myth?
Myth.
Hmm. The biggest myth. Are there like a list of myths existing that I can debunk, or do I gotta pull one up?
You gotta pull one, bro. Let's see. Let's think of some.
Yeah, I can't really think of any like myths. I feel like a lot of things that people think are
I,
pretty much true. But I can debunk some stuff.
okay, let's say controlling. Like maybe somebody enters some of the myths of dating like a young, successful black man. Because
Mhm.
again, these are the guys I'm trying to recruit,
Right.
right? So I think that people are gonna say they may be a little controlling. You know, they may be self-absorbed, narcissists. Like those are some of the things that I hear. Selfish. Um, but I know that that's not always true. I think
Right.
that the thing that I'm seeing is like people are just, yeah, you get anything you want, right?
Mhm.
So just like a little self-absorbed. I think what I'm saying is like people are just intentional and they
Mhm.
don't have the time, because a lot of women will say, well, why don't you take me out? Because that's how I know that you value me,
Right.
right? And men are like, well, I don't know you. So like, why would I take you out somewhere
Right.
if I haven't had an understanding of why I should want to take you out? And they also have this sense of, I don't know if I want, why would I want to get to know you? So I'm trying to kind of close that gap and encourage men to come to the well match so that I can introduce them to somebody and give them like a little snapshot of who they are, and then give them the ability to say, hey, here's the things I think y'all align on. Have this conversation. Maybe, we don't even tell how much you make. You know what I'm saying? We just say that you guys are compatible, and then maybe it's not, steak 48 for the first date, right? Maybe it's y'all are walking, and maybe y'all are playing tennis, just to kind of see if there's some compatibility across some of the other things first.
Yeah, I think where a lot of men go wrong is they equate price of date or vibe of date to compatibility.
Yeah.
And they'll dive in head first. It's like you want to buy a stock, but you don't want to study the market itself. So you have to understand it's better to invite someone to do something that you are already going to do and then figure out if you're compatible enough to take
Mm,
them to maybe Steak 48 or maybe like one of these other intricate luxury places. And I feel like a lot of women are also manipulating men as well, in a way where they know what social media wants to see. So they'll put their qualifications at Steak 48 for first date, get a whole bunch of pictures, and then not really invest in what the relationship could have been.
agreed. Someone said not willing to commit. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, I know you're in a relationship, but like, was it something that you wanted to do? Like, did you want to commit to someone, or were you kind of like, you know, this woman was so special, or you know what I'm saying? Like, what, or just like, was there a moment where you were like, nah, I really want to commit to one person?
I think it's just about desire to not to get to know anyone else. I think once
Yeah,
you reach that point, then you're pretty much over the fence. I think a lot of men like to teeter on the fence. Like,
yeah.
oh, I like where I'm at on Tuesday, but where could I be on Thursday? And I feel
Hmm.
like once you're decided or once you're satisfied or once you don't see yourself getting to know anyone else, because if you're dating someone exclusively, it's like, oh, I just want to get to know you. I just want to spend time with you. I'm not worried or looking at other people. This is where I see the most potential. So I'm not going to ruin that by adding other things into the mix until, that's the decision that we both make. But yeah, I would say it just comes down to when you make that decision that you don't want to get to know anybody else.
Shout out to Luke. Remember Luke from the SWAT? Remember Luke Newton?
Luke, 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 Luke.
Luke. I'll send you his
Okay.
contact after. Yeah. All right. So when I talked about communication style, I was split down the middle when I asked people, in conflict, do you want to talk about it or do you want space, right? So, or I said, something else. And so basically said that they wanted to talk it out immediately. Half the people said that they want space first. So, like, what did you learn about your own communication style that actually helped you in your relationships?
Um, Growing up and being like in the dynamic I was, there was no conflict resolution. It was just a very like cold environment. I feel like a lot of stonewalling was going on, and I'm talking about like adolescence. I'm talking about like growing up as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I never really got to practice conflict resolution. If my parents did something to upset me or vice versa, there was no apology. There was no talking about it. There was no pretty much no conflict resolution. That's something I had to understand as I got older in my relationships. Maybe around like early 20s, I was terrible with conflict resolution. That this just, stemmed from my childhood and not really seeing good examples. After going to therapy and talking about it and developing those communication skills over time, being able to be more emotionally intelligent, I think now it's like you do it based on the situation, and then you're always clear in asking like, okay, would you rather talk about this now, or do you want to get some time or some space to think about it? And just being careful with your tone, because words mean one thing, tone can make those words mean something completely different, and then the impact is going to be the consequences you're faced with. So just watching your tone when you speak to people, just being very sensitive, being very careful, and I feel like that all comes down to having emotional intelligence and developing that skill.
I completely agree. And wait, you mean you had three other brothers? Like y'all didn't? What was the conflict resolution there? Y'all would just fight it out, or?
You know how that goes.
I do know how it goes. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Me and Matt, used to fight. Me and my older brother Mike used to fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, like on the last live, I was just talking about how with men, our conversation usually is a bit more measured because we know that there's like a threat of violence if
Hmm.
things escalate. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
sometimes, I don't know if women have that on their like in their log, right? Like, oh, I'm not going to say this because I know it's going to escalate in this way. Usually it's just words with them. So I want to encourage more young black men to like go to therapy, learn how to, name your emotion when you're in it and actually use your words. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Use your words. So yeah, that's one of the things I try to sort based on emotional intelligence. Okay. So what's funny is out of the 375 that's done it, almost everyone's doing the work, right? So when I ask them, if you go to therapy or do deep self-reflection, 93% say that they've done it. Um, and I don't know, it's just I hope people are being honest, and maybe I should have made it more
93 is kind
clear.
of high.
That's high.
It's high.
That's high. I mean, and that's like higher than the national average I looked.
Hmm.
So I guess that those are the things that I'm trying to I see that first, and then I'm like, all right, well, how do I sort through that and based on their long form answers, really get an idea of how they handle their own triggers and like how I asked them, what happened in your last relationship? What would he say or she say? What would you say? And then
Right.
what was the truth? Because we all know that there's, there's three answers to a situation. So
Hmm.
that's what I wanted to kind of like do a better job of just trying to make sure that I paired two people with someone who's not gonna like cause them to have more triggers, even though it's still hard to know that as someone who doesn't know them deeply.
Right.
Um, but I don't know if there's a solution to address that.
Um, I think that, me personally, I think 93% is on the higher side. Um, I think work comes from a lot of experience. Work comes from repetition and being thrown into these fires and actually doing the things that it takes to survive. And when I say survive, I don't mean to say it as like relationships could, go that route, but it definitely took me years. It took me a lot of sessions. It took me a lot of invoices to get to where I am now. And I
Yeah.
think it's easy to say yes, and lack that self awareness and accountability to know that you might not be where you want to be yet, and you just feel like the clock is running out.
And I probably shouldn't have put self-reflection in there
Hmm.
that's, that's subjective.
Right.
Um, but I just wanted to make sure that I got a sense. And it's high, but maybe the floor is low, right? I can say, all right, if you do self-reflection, if you
Then
value
then you're
that,
good to go.
then you're good to go.
Yeah.
But if you don't, like if that number was lower, even though I threw self-reflection in it, that's like, I don't know if this is a good pool of people, but it
Right.
sounds like people, whether they are actually going to therapy or not, they understand that there's value in it. So
Hmm.
they're at least maybe talking to their higher self. So
Hmm.
I'm not going to judge them for that. All right. So let's talk about lifestyle compatibility. So about 50% of people call themselves ambiverts. So I asked them, are you introverted, extrovert, or ambivert, which is a mix of both?
Hmm.
That kind of checks out to me. It's like 25, 25, 50. And then when I looked at the data, like about 70% of people love travel and they want a partner that kind of fits their pace. So when I ask women, would you date someone who makes less than you? A lot of them are like, not really, because like I love to travel and I never want someone to be on a
Traveling not
trip or
free.
to not go traveling not free, right? So it's like, as like maybe not as I know that you do really well, but like maybe think about like the average Gen Z or young millennial, and like maybe she makes more than you, but
Hmm.
like you also like to travel. Like, what are
Right.
some of the ways that like we can encourage them to, like, I don't know, get involved or find somebody that's equally yoked,
Hmm.
and they could, address that travel need, but like do it responsibly. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they should go to your program and get some money first and then like but I wanted to get your thoughts on, like, is there anything I can do about that in your opinion? Like just making sure that I match two people where the lifestyles align, even though the man is gonna sign up for more of the cost of that lifestyle, and right now I have less men than women.
I think there's always going to be an imbalance. I feel like the more money a single man makes, the more freedom he's going to want out of that
Sure.
life. I feel like the less time a single woman has, the more she's going to want a partner. So,
Mm.
with time increasing and time going by, a woman's time is then running out. And as time goes on, a man's wealth is more than likely increasing. So the disparity is growing as time grows or as time goes. And I think you just have to find people who are in that sweet spot where they make enough, but they still want more out of life, whether that's a partner, whether that's someone to travel with, whether that is just someone to bounce ideas off of, just in simple conversation. I think it would be beneficial to find men who are in that space where they're looking to settle down, but also have the tools to comfortably settle down. A lot of men don't.
So what age do you think most men want to settle down at?
It's definitely changed over the last couple decades. Not that I've been around for a bunch of, but this is just things that I've heard and things that I've known from people in my proximity. Like I said earlier,
Yeah.
I would say 35 is probably about the more comfortable age where you feel like you've seen enough, you've done enough. Um, and depending on your financial situation, I feel like, at 35, you're like, okay, cool. Like I've done enough things. I'm ready to have a partner. And it's getting higher though. So
It's getting higher.
getting higher.
I think 35, yeah, older now. I think 35 makes
Right.
sense because at least by that time you have clarity of what your trajectory is going to be, right?
Yeah.
I think, you may have some delusion when you're 18 or you're 25,
I
like,
thought I was going
wow,
to get married at 25, bro.
there you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. And 25 sounds like such a big age when you're 18,
Yeah.
and I think that like as life goes on and things settle, things go well, not so well, you start to kind of get to a point where you're like, all right, I kind of know what I want
Right.
and I know what I can aspire towards. Like I'm not going to be unreasonable in my goals. So
Hmm.
then it's like, damn, maybe now it's time. Maybe now is the right time to settle down. But I want to get y'all perspective. If you're in the chat, what age did you feel like you were ready, truly ready? Not just saying you're ready, but truly ready to settle down. Because that'll help me with like, my core age group of who I go for, and like, maybe the age right before that in order to prepare them. So just curious what you guys think. Someone said, CJ, my dog CJ said 35 for men or women. I think we're talking about men right
I was
now.
talking about men.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
women definitely want to settle down as soon as possible. I would say mid 20s, late 30s. I mean, late 20s is pushing it for
mhm,
most women, but I feel like mid 30s is a comfortable age for men.
mhm. And the average age of my folks, the majority of them are 32 to 39.
Okay.
So that kind of aligns with that. But curious, what age is were you guys ready to settle down?
She says, let's define ready.
Let's say that you're ready to do the work, right? I think that you're ready to understand that no one's going to be perfect. You're ready to understand that, like, all right, I'm not perfect, and it's going to be almost like an 80-20, right? Like, I'm not looking for everything. I'm not looking for a unicorn. I'm looking for someone who kind of matches me. We have alignment and compatibility on the top values um and preferences that you're looking for, but not necessarily someone who's perfect. I think that if you're looking for a unicorn, you're not ready for me.
Right.
You're not ready, and that's my opinion. But
Mhm.
I mean, people can disagree. Someone said the clock is starting to get scary to think about. Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. So yeah, women, I want to see. So someone said 25. Yes, so you were right on. You were right on track there. And that's actually true. Like there is it's skewed younger for women.
Yeah.
Like the men who are doing it are slightly older than the women on average.
Yeah, and before you move on to the next point, I think it's funny to then compare where a woman is at 25 versus where a man is at 25.
Mhm.
Most men at 25 aren't satisfied at all with their financial stability, their career, or pretty much just, their emotional intelligence or ability to tolerate someone being in their space 24/7 in a healthy way. And that's when their women counterparts or age mates are like, I'm ready, let's go. So it's
Mhm.
like, it's definitely a lot harder.
So there's this constant teetering of not being on the same page.
100%.
25 women are here, men are here, but
Mhm.
then. And I don't know, does it ever like swing back the other way?
No, but I think that's the reason why a lot of women opt to date older men. That's why you might see like a 25-year-old woman with like a 32 or 33-year-old man.
Mhm.
Um, the man in 32, 33 is probably a little more financially stable than a man at 25 or 26, which is the type of people that she would have access to. But you just have to go outside of who you were in class with, to meet those people. So I think that makes more sense to get that age gap.
Yeah. Then the only thing with that is like the older black women um, can sometimes go unmatched because if men who are at the age match of that woman would want
Looking for
someone
younger.
younger,
Right.
so that's the tough part. But I'm trying to match people with people that are compatible, right? Before you see them, before you kind of see everybody else that's in the pool. I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to match close to age, right? Because I already know that that's what's happening in the wild. You know what I'm saying? Like I already know you're going to, if you see two people, you're going to potentially go for the one younger. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? If you feel like those two people are equivalent, but that's not always, the best solution.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to help with that issue because it is a big issue. I think that's what leads a lot of black women going unmatched.
Understood.
Cool. So let's talk about relationship goals. So the data showed that 4 and 5 want kids. So 4 out of every 5 people want kids. Um, and that's probably if they already have them too. Um, so the timelines get urgent after 35. That's what the data shows. It's like, the 4 and 5 is across 375 people. But like if I look at the data for like 35 and up, it's almost like 90% want kids,
Hmm.
for women, before they get to like 45. So,
Right.
like, have you mapped out relationship goals, or like, is that something you do like 3 to 5 years out, like family, legacy, like long-term goals in terms of like, you know, like, do you think about those long-term goals and like what you want to accomplish when you are going into a relationship, or are you just like, no, these are the goals I want, and the person that I'm matching with or the person that I'm connecting with may or may not fit those goals, but like I'm going to hit those goals regardless. Like, do you look at them as like a partner in that, or are you kind of like, you know, like they can have their own goals, I'll have my goals, or are you like, nah, I want to be with you because we both can hit our goals together? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so basically what you're asking is, am I indifferent to the thing my partner can contribute? And regardless of whatever they're contributing, I'm gonna do whatever I need to do? Or you're
Right.
thinking I'm like, oh, you're like a key piece of whatever I'm trying to do, so you need to be that.
I want to know where your stance is, like
Okay.
based on those
Okay.
two.
Um, Personally, I've always been very like focused on the things that I need to do. And I don't think anything can like slow me down or stop me from accomplishing certain things. But as far as like having a kid, I mean, I can't have a kid by myself. So I need to make sure that the person I'm mating with is, compatible in that aspect. Because you could be attracted to someone, you could vibe with someone really well, but then you find out, you probably wouldn't be the best mom. You know what I'm saying? So there's just a lot of different things that come into play when you are trying to add a whole nother life into the situation. Um, Luckily for me, I would know whether or not the person I would want to be with wants to have kids or would, you know what I'm saying, like how they would act in that sense because of a very extensive vetting process. And just some like social challenges and different things where not necessarily like I'm testing the person, but life gives you enough tests. And if you're someone who's very observative, you can see how they react in certain situations, and then you'll be able to grade them based on that.
Copy. And you talked about like judging if someone's going to be a good mom or not. Do you kind of use the same framework as, you just judge if someone's good for you and that's like core intelligence, or is there something different that you use in order to kind of rate if this person would be a good mother or not?
I think to be a good mother definitely takes a lot of patience, a lot of grace, a lot of discernment. Um, you have to know sacrifice. You have to know how to teach, how to convey, how to lead by example. Um, you also have to be very emotionally disciplined. And these things may seem very like surface level, but I think a lot of people lack a lot of these surface level skills. So I feel like if you're not checking off most of those boxes, if not all of them, then you're just not qualified in my eyes.
Copy. And do you look, so you talked when I asked you earlier, like, what do you look for? Like, you're in Houston, so if you were in the market, you're looking at core intelligence. And then you just talked about like patience, if they can teach, how they share information, like, how they communicate, if they're kind, if they convey their messages clearly. Um, are you looking at both of those things, or like, do you feel like there's a difference between core intelligence and what you just laid out for women? Because I want to understand if these qualifications and characteristics are important for everybody or just the ones that are looking for kids.
Initially, it is just, the core intelligence and discernment that would probably reel me in. But once we start thinking about, okay, maybe this would be something that we're doing for the long
Mm,
term. Okay, now are you qualified for this next step? Like, do you have
see,
the tools that it takes to hear? Because I don't believe in grading someone that intensely and we're just going to get coffee. You know what I'm saying? So
mm.
I think it's just more so you learn as you go, but you also have in mind what you want your long-term goals to be so you're not like leading anybody on or wasting their time.
But there, even if you're not like judging them on it, it's like in the back of your mind,
In the
you're
back
like,
of
if
your
I
mind.
see this, ooh, that might be a little red flag, even though I'm not judging, I'm not actively looking for this quality or characteristic just yet,
Right.
because you haven't gotten to that stage, but it's definitely in the back of your mind. That's helpful.
Hmm.
That's helpful. Okay. So let's talk about leadership and reciprocity. So, I mean, across those folks, it looks like acts of service and quality time dominate the love languages. I asked people to rank their love languages 1 through 5.
Hmm.
So quality time got 40%, acts of service got 31%. And so, like, for me, it was like leadership, and again, it's skewed mostly from a women's perspective. Leadership mostly looks like him showing up, not just calling the shots, right? It's
Hmm.
so like, are you the lead the relationship type guy, or you know, And do you want reciprocity? Like, what does that look like? Like, what does like match my energy look like as a young black millionaire?
Um, Lead the relationship. I would say I do tend to take the reins on certain things. Especially when it's like a situation where it has to deal with maybe our safety or our financial stability, kind of like the more dire and detrimental things. Um, like romantic things, like planning dates and things like that, I can show up there as well. But that's where I would want the other person to show up. You know what I'm saying? If
Mm,
I say, oh, we're in danger, help me, that doesn't really add up. That's where I would that's where I would take lead. But if it's like I planned 20 dates and you're just going on these dates, I would start to think, if I didn't plan dates, nobody would go on dates. And then that's where there's going to be a problem. That's where I would expect some reciprocity.
I see. So you're not looking for like, the equivalent uh amount, but you
Right.
are looking for like, someone who sees the impact of what you guys are doing on you and then like wanting to maybe cover some of that.
Right.
It's like I don't know if you saw that video that was like surfacing online. It's like you're at dinner, you're like signing a check, and she's like, "How much was it?" And it's like five
And she's like,
hundred.
it's
She's
not
like,
that bad or
"Oh, it's not
something.
that bad." You're like, so it's like maybe once in 20 to 30
Yeah,
days,
one in
like
one in 20, 1 in 30. That's cool.
let me
But
ask you how much it was, and then at least say
like when you
it's
show
not that
up, it's gonna
much.
feel better, you
Absolutely.
know?
Okay. Okay. And you think that's like the mentality kind of across the board for Gen Z too? And like, it's hard to think that nobody would have that mentality, unless it's like, yo, one in every 5 dates or one in every 10 dates. Like, have you ran across anyone who is like reciprocity may look different for them? Like, because I guess the other argument of 50-50, because I was talking to my wife about this earlier, is like 50-50 in dating maybe looks different than like 50-50 in a marriage, right? So like
Mhm.
with like just the single young black group, I'm curious if there's anyone out there that's like, no, 50-50 means I pay for this day, then you pay for that day. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
I think that that's a very transactional or a hyper transactional type of relationship. And I feel like once you start putting all of your eggs in a financial basket in a relationship, it definitely makes it a little bit harder because what if someone gets laid off? Now you think they don't
Right.
love you because they're not paying for their 50% of the dates. And
Right.
I think 50-50 is a lot more than just finances. I think 50-50 is picking someone when they fall down. I think it's
Right.
encouraging someone when they're going through a tough time or even when they're going through a good time, encourage them to do better. I think 50-50 could be, oh, you were cooking, I did the laundry. So it's like, it's not just about, oh, split the check, split the check, split the check. It's more so just about how you show up in the relationship. I think what a lot of people are doing is they're sitting with their legs crossed and
Right.
expecting everything to happen to them versus I need to strap my boots and show up. Even if I'm not carrying this, I need to grab the water. I need to grab the chips. I need to grab the napkins. I need to do something. So I know that this person knows that I care about them and I know that I'm giving it my best foot forward in this experience.
Love that. No, I agree. And I think, like I thought you were gonna say if they're cooking, you're doing the dishes. You know what I'm saying? Just like being complimentary, man. Like showing appreciation, but then offering some value too. And it's
Mhm.
not just tit for tat, but it kind of is. But I don't know.
It's natural. You don't ever want it to feel like there's a tally or a scoreboard. Once two things start to flow naturally,
Hmm.
you'll be able to feel it in that relationship, and it'll probably change the entire dynamic of it.
Love that. Okay. So let's talk about deal breakers and maybe some reframes for people. Because I asked people like, what's your top deal breaker? The main thing was, financial instability, as we've just been talking about,
Right.
health issues, or they don't want kids if that person wants kids. Um, I guess my question to you, like, what used to be a hard no for you that now you see differently? Because I'm trying to understand if someone says this is a deal breaker, and maybe it's not those things that I just talked about, like the top three, but like when I'm vetting for people, it's like, yo, if you told me a deal breaker, but then this person has everything else that you're looking for,
Hmm.
like, I want to get some perspective on, do you think that there's leeway for that person to change, or should I just stay away from matching them altogether?
I would just stay away from it. Honestly, I don't think I've become more lenient over time. I think it's become a lot harder. Um, I think as time goes on, as social media is prevalent in our society, as there are more distractions, I feel like I've become a lot more cutthroat when it comes down to things that I'm just like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Gotta stay away from it. So listen, if you put a deal breaker in there, stand. I'm gonna stand by that. So maybe if that's less of a deal breaker and it's more of just a preference, just put that in the preferences box. Don't put it as a deal breaker because that's something I've been thinking about too. It's like if you say you don't want something, even if this is a dope person that got everything else you're looking for, I'm not matching y'all.
Right.
All right. So 39% call themselves secure when I ask people what's their attachment style. And then 22% admitted to kind of having some anxious attachment. So I did appreciate that. Like you can see that some vulnerability was there,
Hmm.
but fear still shows up. So like, what do you think keeps a lot of black men from getting serious? Like even when they say they want love.
I think men are naturally more lustful,
Mm.
than truly emotional. And I feel like women kind of operate from more of a emotional foundation. So it's one thing to want love, but then it's another thing to fully commit and know what you're signing up for as a man. And I feel like sometimes men forget, like, hey, once I'm committed to this, that means I can't do X, Y, Z. And once they
Yeah.
weigh those options, they don't feel like it might be worth it. So I think that's probably the reason.
What do y'all think? Would love to get y'all perspective on that too, because that kind of keeps me up at night, right? Like, what keeps young black men from getting serious? Is it I've heard like lack of faith, lack of trust that they also are going to be serious, or feeling like, this person's only with me not because of me, but because of what I provide. Um, so wanted to get your thoughts on that, but that's what the data's saying.
I think lack of confidence too.
Lack of
If
confidence.
I'm making 40K a year and my girlfriend's scrolling on Instagram all day, I don't feel like I'm the top dog because you looking at dudes getting eight girls with roses, a stack of cash,
Right.
all these vacations, and I'm sitting in the back and I'm just like, damn, like I can't do none of that. And I've encountered a lot of situations where men tell me that they're insecure based on the things that they've seen on social media or the things they might see from even my social media, and they're just like, how do you maintain a relationship if you can't take her on trips? I'm just like, everyone goes on trips. Like you're gonna get on social media, you're gonna see people buying each other cars, people buying each other houses, people on 5-star vacations. But you have to be just secure in who you are and what you have. And I feel like a lot of people lack that.
So is the solution like less trips? Like tell women like to want less trips?
No,
Or is the
absolutely not, because that's not
solution
that's not gonna work.
right? So like is there a solution in your opinion? Like is it just to make more money or
Yeah.
to hold off until yeah.
Yeah. The short solution is to obviously be more financially stable, but the more surefire
Maybe it's
solution
budget.
is to be with people who are down to earth and aren't shallow in material and can't be swayed by someone else going on 3 trips versus when you only went on 2.
I agree. So that's also something I'm like trying to filter for. So let's read some of the comments. Okay. So Alicia said, I think there's room for compromising. As people are single longer, they strengthen their walls. Bad through compromise for someone worth it. Taylor said insecurities. Eastack said temptations, insecurities, negative past experiences. Mookie said these kids aren't being guided to go outside. Taking social media cues are a killer. And then I feel like a girl did a guy wrong, and so he has written off relationships altogether to not get hurt again. No, find someone in your bracket, and the younger women have a strong aversion to flirting. Hmm.
I feel like it's all over the place.
Yeah, it is a little bit all over the place. I was trying to get a takeaway from all that. But nah, but appreciate y'all. You know what I'm saying? I think that the most of them were just an answer to what keeps a lot of black men from getting serious.
Hmm.
And essentially it's like past traumas or feeling like they lack in a way. But
Hmm.
I guess what, like I said, it keeps me up because it's like, does that mean that I'm just gonna always have less men than women? Um,
I
I'm
think
trying to
that's something that
figure out
you might have to get
solutions.
used to.
Yeah. Okay. So like, if I asked you to like write a letter to like the 18-year-old, maybe like the 20-year-old Vic, like you don't have to say what that letter would be, but like what are some of the high notes? Like what are some of the lessons and like just kind of main things that you would tell them about specifically to like finding their person or relating?
Um, I would definitely say to work on yourself, be wrapped up in the things that you can do better. Hold yourself accountable. Don't point fingers at other people for your own shortcomings.
Hmm.
Um, Control what you can control. Um, and eventually you will attract what you're looking for.
Mm, love that. Okay. So yeah, I mean, hopefully this doesn't feel like it's all over the place. For me, it's like I'm really trying to understand the mind of, I'm 37, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like you as a person who is what you are, you know what I'm saying? I think that you have access to a lot of men who are trying to improve themselves, men and women. I'm not just gonna say men.
Mhm.
And for me, it's valuable to understand those perspectives because right now I understand women tremendously because it's 300 of them. It's so many of them
Right,
just sharing, And as a man, I know what men think, but I also don't know what like a 25-year-old thinks. So
right.
like this for me is helpful because it's helping me kind of frame my understanding for that.
Understood.
Okay. So, just like a couple more. So the data said that 63% of folks won't date um, if they are in like financial chaos, and 80% expect like intentional gestures. So, like basically, love clearly rewards strategy just like money does,
Mhm.
So my question was, why should finding love be as strategic as building wealth, in your opinion? Do you believe that?
I think eventually when you find love, love is going to be combined with your wealth and the things that you have amassed through your life. So I would say that finding love is the equivalent to finding like a business partner, like a life
Mhm.
business partner. Um, I would say it is very strategic, and I think a lot of people say, "Oh, Vic, you're really dramatic, or you always take it so seriously." And I think it's something that you can't really like cut corners with. So yeah, I think it should be taken with the utmost seriousness. I think it's probably harder than getting wealthy.
Absolutely, because you can with wealth, you can kind of just go in your little bubble and just get to it,
Right,
hunker down, get
right.
it done. With love, it's tough because you don't know who that person is. Like there's a lot of conversations that you just aren't likely to have that are
Mhm.
important conversations to have. So again, that's what I'm trying to help with. And then but yeah, man, so I think my last question was, you know, just like a request for you to help me out along the way, right? Because as you can see, like I left corporate, now I'm trying to scale this service and trying to also create a way to monetize it and to scale it.
Mhm.
And, like I'm someone who is competitive. I like to hit my goals. But with this new venture of entrepreneurship, like it's a lot of things that's like putting me outside of my own comfort zone. So yeah, I'll just rely on you you know what I'm saying, to give me some ideas around like how I can do a better job of just like reaching people, encouraging people to utilize, you know, my service,
Sure.
because you're someone that I respect and what you built.
Likewise, I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, I mean, I think I do get a different perspective because my platform is like financial gain, financial health, financial literacy. So I do get a wide range of people in my demographics, anywhere from like 18 to like 40. So I do get to talk to a lot of people when I'm doing my mentorship calls. I do hear a lot of these things. And yeah, most of the people that are using my services, they're not thinking about a relationship. They're just thinking about becoming a better version of themselves first. So I think once they get that done, then they'll be more so willing to, take on the responsibilities of someone else.
Copy. All right. Well, the fun part is y'all get to see this social experiment play out live. And the cool thing
100%.
is, I am relentless in hitting my goals. So
Sure.
while, you know, this conversation was definitely helpful, it's giving me a lot to think about in terms of the mentality and just like what I have to do to encourage people, like what my messaging could be, addressing the pain points that people see. So
Mhm.
just wanted to say thanks again. And we'll continue to have this conversation, bro.
For sure. Let's do it.
All right. Thank y'all for joining. Appreciate y'all for listening in and asking questions and taking part on this. You know, in the future, I'll probably have others on, you know, to talk about their perspective. I was thinking about having someone who is a part of the LGBTQ community, or having a pastor on to talk about some of the things that I asked as, you know, questions on the questionnaire, in order to kind of better understand the mentality that's outside of just who I am as a person.
Okay.
So appreciate y'all. This is episode one. Glad my boy Vic could come on and have this conversation. All
Thank
right,
you,
bro.
brother.
Thank you.
All
All right,
right.
y'all.